Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday, December 27th. I think we're live. Are we live? We got audio. I think we're live. The delay. There we go. The delay has been pretty bad lately, so I tried changing my settings in my streaming software. So hopefully the delay isn't so bad today. You guys will have to let me know if it's any better or any worse than it has been. Should be better though. But the downside to that is that the video quality might not be as good as it usually is. So I kind of turned down the video quality a little bit to see if we could improve the latency or delay. So far today, this is my second trade that I'm in. The first one was a break even. I basically got in at this tick up from this lower power zone after the delta crossed above the confirmation line here. So usually when it crosses above like that, even if it crosses back under shortly after, the fact that it crossed up prior to that is usually a heads up that the market really does want to go that direction. Anyway, I broke even on that one, and then I got back in on this tick up above the delta. Now the delta's rising, but it still looks pretty weak, so if we tick back down here, I'll end up getting out and pulling the plug on it. But I didn't enter right on the close that candle. After the close that candle, entered on the 8, so that's why I'm a little bit lower. However, on the higher time frames, the 5-minute we're bearish. On the 15 we're bearish. And on the hourly, we are technically bullish because we're above that confirmation line. Oh, now we get a spike down. That was kind of quick. I'm gonna have to pull it here. Just took out that previous day low. All right, I pulled the plug there. So that ended up being a 12 3/4 point loss. One second here. There's been like a buzzing under my desk, and I thought it was like a fan or something, but it's actually the intake for the furnace. It's sucking air in there, and the grate that's on the wall is actually vibrating a little bit every time the furnace fan turns on. But I figured out that if I put a little piece of paper over the grate, it stops vibrating. Not completely over it, just partially over it. Anyway, problem solved temporarily. Good morning, Stealth. Hope you had a good Christmas or break. So like I said, the hourly is technically bullish. However, we are ticked down on the hourly, which could see more downside here before we end up ticking back up. But if we tick up and put in a higher low on that signal on the hourly, then we could see a significant rise here. The 5-minute and the 15's got to fall in line first before that happens. You caught the flu on Tuesday. That's no good. My whole family was sick a couple weeks ago, and that wasn't any fun, but everybody seems to be better now. Yeah, that's the worst when you're nauseous and you have the chills and you're not hungry. Yeah. When that happens to me, if I crave anything, it's usually just fruit, like oranges or things like that. So it's 8:22. Market opens in about 8 minutes. I haven't really checked the news. I don't think anything's going on. Let's see what's going on in the news. It says nothing is... Nope, no news today. No high impact news, at least. And obviously nothing tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I figured this whole week would be kind of choppy, but it ended up being not too bad Monday and Tuesday. I didn't stream on Tuesday, but I decided to trade a little bit. I had a pretty good day on Tuesday. I know it was definitely better than I was expecting. I think I ended the day at... Is Jay-Waz here? He was kind of trading with me a little bit. I think I ended the day around like 86 points, something like that. I know it was a lot better than I was expecting. I thought we would just mainly be going sideways. And so far today, I mean, this price action doesn't look too bad. I wish I would have got up a little bit earlier because this trade right here would have been nice. This tick down right here was a really good short entry. Then I probably would have pulled the plug at this tick up from the lower power zone, but that would have been, looks like, well, I would have got my 31 points out of it before it ticked up. So that would have been a good trade, but I was not up early enough to catch that one. So far, that looks like the best move since the 7 a.m. candle. But if you look back here, there were other setups here that were good too. So here we have our delta cross under the confirmation line. Signal pulls back up under the delta, ticks down right here. That would have been the short entry. And then we kind of chop sideways. We never really get down in that lower power zone. So then we have another short opportunity here at 7 a.m. So if you held through that, it never made it back to break even. So I probably would have held through that. And then this right here is the other short opportunity. The confirmation line's got the negative slope. Signal pulls into the red zone, ticks down. And it tried to pop from that lower power zone here, so might have taken some profit right here, but that would have been a winner. And we continue to drop from there. I probably would not have taken this one, but if I see a lower high on the signal and that confirmation line still has that negative slope and the delta also has this negative slope to it, then usually I will still take those. So that would have been a short here on this lower high. Looks like that would have got 31.25 points before it pulled back up. And then this one right here would have been 31.25 points. So those two right there, between the two, would have been over 60 points. But you got to get up early to catch those. And I was not up. I'm still on my Christmas break. But all of those setups were pretty good. So now we just got to be patient and see if the market gives us another setup. Still dropping on the one. Market opens in about 2 minutes. There's JWAS. Good morning. Oh, excuse me. Back in action finally, huh? You said you were doing some traveling. Did you say you had to jump on a plane somewhere? I'm assuming back to family, wherever that is. Market's still dropping pretty good here. Texas. I didn't know you were from Texas. What part of Texas? East Texas, huh? I used to work in Texas, and I somewhat lived there while I was working there. I used to work for, well, I worked for a consulting firm called Accenture, and one of our clients was Blockbuster Video, and they were in Dallas, Texas. And so I used to have to fly from Minneapolis to Dallas at like 6 a.m. every Monday morning for about a year straight. I would fly there 6 a.m. I would stay there the whole week. And then if I was lucky, I got to fly home over the weekend. And that was a fun project, though. That's when we were building Blockbuster.com for when they were trying to do the online video rental stuff. So Netflix was a big player at the time, and they were trying to compete with Netflix. They thought that they had the upper hand because they had brick and mortar stores all over the place, and so we designed and built a system where you could rent DVDs online. I don't know if you guys remember what it was like back then, but you can add a DVD to your queue, and then you could, add several to your queue, and then those would come in the mail in like these little envelopes. And if you wanted to ship them back, you had to put them back in your mailbox, or you could take it to a brick and mortar store, and you could just exchange the CD in the store, and then you could go pick out a new one, bring it home. And so everybody thought that they were going to put Netflix out of business because you could just take your DVDs to the store and you could exchange them quicker. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And Blockbuster went bust in, I think, 2009? So yeah, I spent a lot of time there in Dallas. Yeah. Well, this market opened here, and man, she is still dropping. The 5-minute is still playing out if you look over there. So we got this tick down right here at 7:55 a.m. Thick delta, fat delta, and getting fatter as we fall on the 5. I wish I was in a short there. I just didn't have a clean entry. The only entry I really had was to go long right there. These are just too shallow. I mean, yes, well, you can take those tick downs there, but they're just so shallow that the probability of those usually isn't great. Especially with the market open. When the market opens and the delta is at the bottom, we usually pop up. So that's another reason why I was trying to go long there earlier. But yeah, that whole Blockbuster project was probably the most well-known, I guess, to the general public of the projects that I was on when I worked for Accenture. I was one of the first 10 developers on that project, and I think at the peak there were like over 200, something like that. So that was back in 2004. That was a long time ago. Maybe 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. Dropping hard, man. Whew. Wish I was in a short. Checking Bitcoin to see if it's following. Bitcoin is still very bearish. If you look on the daily, we crossed under that confirmation line. We're ticking down again on the daily. On the 8-hour, definitely bearish there. I would have shorted that if I could short. I can't short, though, at Kraken. Wish I could. On the 4-hour, definitely bearish there. And on the 1-hour, kind of chopping sideways a little, but still bearish. Let's check out the higher time frames here, see what that looks like. Man, what a drop. Opened up and went straight down. Here's the 15. We got the previous month high sitting down here. We got the average daily range line right next to the previous month high. This could be an area where it could potentially go throughout the day. It's weird that previous month high line is not showing up. I'm going to go to the 1 minute. See if it's on the 5. Yeah, it's here on the 5. It's at 591.25. Yeah, it should be there. Anyway, be nice if it could give us an entry. I don't like it when it just goes in one direction without any pullbacks. So our 8:30 candle was here. Looks like that was a green candle. And then we just dropped at 8:31. $80 tick stop is looking pretty short right now. It's another thing that 4 times ATR, we're sitting at an 80.5 right now. It's probably going to keep rising. So 80 tick stop is probably going to be too small. If you double that to 160, that looks more appropriate. So adjust your position size accordingly. Sorry for all the dinging. My watch is going crazy. I always forget to put that on silent. You know, I did not expect to sell off the way that we're selling off today. I expected a little bit more sideways action. So far, it's looking like Free Fall Friday. Still not a whole lot as far as potential entries go. Options are pretty much, if you want to jump on a moving train, you can use the 8, potentially. But after it's run so far like this, you'd probably get run over if you try to use the 8. You can take these little, see the delta's really thick right now? When it's thick, you can potentially take these little tick downs even when the delta is, or when it's kind of hiding behind the delta there. Like this one at 839. This one at 832. That one would have been really nice. I just don't like taking those because those are, unless the price is really going to continue moving down, it's just so easy to get run over on those. Especially if your stop is inadequate. Like in the case if you're trying to use 80 ticks, that's just too small. So it's probably better off just being patient, waiting. Patience. Yeah. Patience pays. If you're more of an order block kind of guy, you can mark these off. This one actually has some confluence with that pivot line. And if we pull into that, you could try to snipe an entry off the order block. I really don't like it when the price just guns in one direction like that, though. I mean, typically when that happens, by the time you do start seeing setups, if you've had a huge significant drop like that, it could be done for the day. I've seen that a lot where you'll have a really strong move in one direction, then it just flattens out, and then you get chopped up potentially. You want to be on that first moving train in the morning. Let's see what 100 ticks looks like. 100 doesn't look that much better, does it? Maybe 130? Even then, I don't know. I'm going to try 125. See how that goes. Yeah, 5 and 15, taken up from the lower power zone. Good call there. We also have the delta crossing confirmation line, the lower power zone on the 1. Delta's still very thin, though. So any longs are still kind of dangerous here. Could maybe try to snipe off that 8. I just went long there below the 8, but I'm going to pull the plug if we close under the 8. I'm going to try to keep a short leash on it. And that's 712 75. And did we close under? Yes, we did. And I just got out at break even. I prefer that those are wicks and that we stay above the 8 if I take those. So we still could pull up here, but looks like we ended up ticking down there on the signal as well. So even though I'm using a 125 tick stop, I would prefer that I don't hit it. So I'm still going to try to keep a short leash on things. Of course, it's looking like that's going to bounce out of there now. Now we just got a delta squeeze looking setup. Still wouldn't want to take that though, with how big these candles are. I was thinking about jumping back in on the 8 there, but I don't know. It's right next to this order block. We're kind of reacting off the 20 there. Could easily push back down. But that is our delta squeeze setup. We got a rising delta. And we got the tick up above the rising delta. I prefer those when the signal comes down a little bit closer and then it ticks up like that, but technically that is a delta squeeze. Look over at the 5. Look how fat the 5 still is. So I don't know. Any longs here are still going to be, it's probably going to take a while to put the brakes on. Manuel, can you check Bitcoin? Sure. Bitcoin is still looking pretty bearish to me. Bearish on the daily, on the 8 hour, on the 4 hour, everything's dropping. On the 1 hour, we still have this negative sloping confirmation line. Delta is weak. We pulled into the upper half, ticked down in that upper power zone. That's a short right there on the 1 hour. So I don't know. I probably would not long that. I'm completely out 100% in crypto right now. Yeah, you're probably going to be better off just taking shorts at this point until that 5 starts looking a little more normal. Going against that thick delta is going to be a problem. Now see, even this one, like that tick down didn't quite make it in the upper power zone, but when it's strong like that to the downside, a lot of times it's too strong for the signal to even get up there. So you could technically, you know, the closer you get to the red zone, the better. But this might be as good as we get here. This 854 tick down. Let's see what 80 ticks looks like on that. You know, the other way to play these is you could try to enter on those signals, and as soon as it goes in profit, just move your stop to break even if you don't want to use a giant stop. You're going to get stopped out probably quite a bit at break even, but it's better than taking a full loss. We are ticking up from that green zone again. So the bulls they're trying. It does look like it's trying to bounce a little bit on this order block, if you want to call it one. That vent down there just keeps vibrating on me. That little piece of paper trick is helping though. If I put a little piece of paper over the intake vent for the furnace, the vibration goes away. But obviously that's not a permanent fix, so I'll have to fix that later. So we got a negative sloping delta. If we end up putting in a lower high on the signal, you could try to short that, but the delta is above the confirmation line. So this is an area of turbulence. Like both longs and shorts are going to be kind of risky here. However, the shorts still probably have the upper hand as long as that's pointed down. But I'm not going to short a giant candle like that. I was going to jump in on that lower high tick down, but not anymore. Made it back down to this lower pivot. We got that average daily range line coming up here. That's what I was pointing out earlier as a potential target. Looks like we're getting close to hitting that one. So even though that was a giant candle, looks like this even 80 tick stop would have done the trick on this one. Still not really liking these entries though. Just haven't really had a clear entry yet. $21,600 is our average daily range. Getting very close to hitting that. I still don't see the previous month high line showing up here. I wonder if that's a setting. Previous month high low. Yeah, that should be showing up. Yep, should be showing up. And I'm pretty sure we hit it now. Let's go back to the 5. There it is. 21,590.75. It's that previous month high. Looks like we're trying to bounce on it right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we bounce in this area here. Well, and if we don't, where else could we be headed? Let's see. Could be headed to take out this low. It's at 21,476. And then probably looking at this order block way down here. Quite a ways to go. So I doubt we'll make it down that far. But it's possible. Anything is possible. It's only 9 o'clock. The day has only just begun. K. John, 21,482 would be a good flush move to go back up. 21,482. That is right near that 21,476 that I marked out to take out that prior low. One second, guys. My daughter just woke up. I gotta tend to her real quick. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Still just waiting here. That was a giant move down. I wish we would have had a clear entry into that. I really don't like it when the market does that at the open. I prefer a little sideways chop first, to be honest with you. Only because there's just no real clear entries. It's a fast-moving train, but there's no way to jump on. I take that back. There was a... Like I said, there was an entry here, but I passed on it because it was a giant candle. And these other ones, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they would have worked for sure, but usually I don't like taking those down there. Starting to show a little bullish divergence now. We got a lower low on the price, higher low on the signal. Still need that 5-minute delta to start thinning out though. You know, and if we are going into more of a sustained downtrend for the day, then, I mean, any of those signals in this green zone should be okay. Preferably not the power zone, but like this upper green zone, like these over here. However, we already hit that average daily range though, so I don't know, I'm a little little skeptical of going into a sustained downtrend for the whole day. We're making our way down to the next pivot line. Just down here at 526. Stealth blew one of my evals. I thought it was on micros. I went in with 7 minis. I hate when that happens. Sorry about that. I probably shouldn't be laughing. I've made lots of those types of mistakes in the past. Sometimes to my benefit. So our ATR number is now sitting at 112. Let's see what an 80 tick stop looks like on that. It looks tiny. Let's see what a 12x multiplier looks like for a potential take profit. 314. Sounds about right. So let's say that you used 125 tick stop. Set your profit to 314. Yeah, it's like a 2.5 risk reward ratio. Sounds about right. So she's trying to bounce on this pivot line here. Which is 527. Just curious if we have a order block over here that we're trying to bounce on. Maybe the 15. Yeah. You got a giant gap in here to fill on the hourly. Well, guys, we are starting to flash our first tick down from the red zone since before 8 o'clock this morning. However, Delta is crossing above the confirmation line. So, is it too late to jump on this train is the big question. I am going to give it a shot. We might be too late for this train, though. I'm in at 554. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to get run over here. I would have got run over there if I stuck with my 80 tick stop. We're flashing a higher low tick up. The delta is rising, but it's very thin. But if we tick up here, I gotta pull the plug. And I pulled it. Looks like I am out at where did that get me out? 560. So 6-point loss. It's better than 125 ticks. That's where my take profit was set. And of course it drops right after that. Silly market. I knew this was going to be risky though on this one just because delta crossed above confirmation line. It was positive. You know, we kind of lost our delta thickness there on the one. Those are better if the delta's rolling over and if it's negative, like it's trying to do right now. I went ahead and jumped back in here at 534.25. 425. Since we did put in that lower high, probably should have just waited for the lower high to begin with, but I didn't. I'm going to try to target this swing low that we're trying to take out at that red line that's at 476. I got my stop at break even on this one, so hopefully it doesn't pop back up there. Don't do it. Just go down. And it took me out, of course. Yeah, when the delta's over the confirmation line like that, I want to keep a short leash on it. I don't want it to get away from me too much. Because this could easily try to double bottom here. We're still on this 15-minute order block, so If we start to move up there, I'd be in trouble. Again, this is that turbulent zone. We could be trying to bounce here. We are getting a tick up above the delta. Normally, I would go long there. But in this environment, man, I don't know. I said normally I'd go long there. I'm not taking this one, but we'll simulate it. We'll see how it does. So normally on this tick, the tick up right above the delta, when the delta is above the confirmation line, it's usually a really good long. And so far, it's looking pretty good. Yep, now I'm wishing I would have taken that one. Problem with buying today is that they can drop it 20 points in seconds. Yeah, well, the opposite is also true. In this volatility, in seconds, they could crank it up. You know, just like right here. What, this move popped up 75 points to the upside in a matter of 2 minutes. So we went back to the 20 and we're starting to tick down again near that midline. Question is the delta weak enough for that to be a good short? I don't know. Kind of still in that turbulent zone here. We're above the 8. Yeah, it's still looking like the upside's got the upper hand here from a cumulative delta perspective. That would have got 31 points for sure on that one. And probably a lot more coming. You know, when you backtest the signals on the cumulative delta, you'll find that even on these days where you have this crazy volatility, as long as you have an appropriate, an adequate stop, the signals still play out the same. The rewards are just usually a lot more. So it's like this one. I was afraid to take it, but I probably should have just taken it because normally I would take that if the volatility was, you know, more normal. But from a cumulative delta perspective, that was the entry. So far, that's run 65 points. It's one of the things I'm trying to get better about is still taking all of the signals even when the volatility is crazy and scary. Yeah, 5 minutes putting in a higher low on the signal, and the delta is finally starting to taper down a little bit. You know, another thing, even with the crazy volatility, usually if it's going to be a good trade, there's usually very little drawdown, if any. So even if you use a tiny 80 tick stop, when you backtest that, it usually still ends up working out. Sure, you're going to have some losers in there where you get wicked out, but so I always go back and forth. Like, do I widen my stop or do I just stick to the 80 ticks, even though it's tiny? I mean, you are limiting your downside for sure. You're increasing the chances that you'll get wicked out, but I don't know. I always go back and forth on that. Well, the 1 minute delta is finally starting to ramp up here a little bit. It's getting a little thickness into it. Buyers are definitely stepping back in. So we did end up putting in somewhat of a double bottom here on that 15-minute order block. Took some time, but that's why my shorts didn't work out there. That's what I'm always afraid of. After a giant move, trying to continue the trend usually gets me burned. We're finding a little bit of resistance there at the 50. We are ticking down just below that upper power zone. Delta is tapering back down on the 1. So could this be the start of a pullback? Stealth. New strategy, close my eyes and hit sell and wait for the profit target to be hit. Yeah, that's one way of doing it too. You know, I got that piece of paper on that vent, so every time the furnace starts up, it sucks the paper against the vent and then that vibration stops. But every time the furnace shuts off, the paper falls on the ground. So I'm going to go get a piece of tape so I can tape that paper on there. One second. There we go. All right, what's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin is still dropping, just as the cumulative delta says it should do. Notice we also got ourselves a broadening formation here on the hourly. Those are always tricky if you're not used to trading them. What is Solana doing? Ooh. Same broadening formation on Solana. Looks like that 8 could have potentially been a decent entry here if you're trying to go long after this tick up. So we got the rising delta above confirmation line. We got the tick up right here. It's a big candle though, so if you don't like to enter on the candle close, the entry would have been here on the 8. I missed it, of course, but that is a valid setup there. It almost made it to 31 points. Let's see what it went to 30 at least. Looks like it pulled back down to that 8 again. It's bouncing off that 8. There, it would have hit 31 points. Starting to flash our first tick down from that upper power zone, but if this is going to put in a bigger upside move, that can be kind of risky to go short there. So if you want to keep things simple, the delta's rising. It's above rising confirmation line. So we should be looking for longs. So even if this pulls back a little bit, we should be having our eyes open for a long setup here. However, if the delta starts turning negative and rolling over and we put in like a lower high on the signal, then I'll probably take that short. Looks like our ATR number's coming down a little bit. Let's see what an 80 tick stop looks like now. It's a little more appropriate. So yeah, 4 times ATR, when that's sitting at about an 80, that's kind of the, you know, it's getting a little shallow to use 80 tick stop on that, but it should still work. Schroden, that's a nice comment. Thank you. Schroden says, glad to have you back today. You're my new favorite live trading stream. I hope you keep it up. You have a nice calm demeanor and you don't distract with hype and emotion. Well, thank you. That's a pretty nice comment. Never thought I'd be somebody's favorite trading stream right now. But that is awesome. You know, I'm trying to get better and improve my trading just like you guys are, so I know that my strategy and my plan works. I do pretty well, but there's always room for improvement. The delta's starting to get a little weak again, starting to flatten out, turn negative. Looks like it might be trying to roll over a little bit, so we'll see if we can maybe put in a higher low on the signal. Potentially take that short. We're also back under the 8. Schroden, I too really like the Zeiierman Cumulative Delta, but my only concern is that since I don't know how it works under the hood, like how he normalizes the Cumulative Delta to an oscillator, what would you do if he changed the indicator? Well, he hasn't changed it well, I shouldn't say that. He has changed it over the last couple years, but usually it's only at the request of, I think actually the only changes he's made to it have been for some of my requests, actually. But it's usually for the better. I mean, he's not, I think he understands that, he doesn't want to change it so much that you can't, that it's vastly different than what you were used to. Usually he's like adding settings and that type of thing to enhance the features, not necessarily change them. But even if he was to, I don't know, completely remove it, I mean, I know that I could trade without it. I just really enjoy having it. I mean, if I wasn't going to use the cumulative delta at all, I would probably just go back to trading order blocks and, keep it simple. Use EMAs and order blocks. I know I can trade with those alone. It's just, I feel like I do better with the cumulative delta. And there's still things that I wish it had, and I'm gonna try to see if I could convince Zeiierman to add some additional features to this to make it even better. Like, for example, I would really like to see, like, even though I can visually see the thickness of the delta, I would really like to see more of like an objective measurement of that with like a number. So you know how like I have my ATR number over here that I could just glance at. I would love to see, I don't know what you would call that, like because a lot of times that's, the thicker it is, the more momentum the price has. And so, maybe you could call it like a momentum measurement or something like that. But if you had that number, then you could try to get a feel and an idea for, like then you could potentially set some thresholds on the number and say, okay, well, if it's above, whatever the number is, then I will take these specific setups. And if it's below, then I won't. Like, for example, I got this green zone down here and I got the red zone at the top. I don't like entering from the red zone, on average. But if there's a lot of momentum in the movement, then I will. It's like this right here. So we got a tick up from the red zone at 948. But see how the delta was just kind of, it's kind of below average as far as like the strength goes. It maybe you call that number a strength number. And if it doesn't have a lot of strength, I don't really want to take this long right here. Because see how like the price, it just kind of piddled out right there because there was no strength behind it. But, like going back in the day, look at the opposite. So back in the day, how I typically don't like to take these tick downs from the green zone to go short. I like to wait for them to go back in the red zone. However, once the delta starts gaining momentum, then like, see this tick down right here, the delta was gaining a lot of momentum at that point. So like the probability of this, even though you're in that lower power zone, probability of going short there is a lot higher because the thickness is fatter on the delta. So see, like there was very little drawdown on that move, and we just kept cranking down once it got going there. But if you had like an objective measurement to look at, then you could, like I said, you could say, okay, if it's above whatever the strength measurement is, then I'll take those. And you know what? The other thing that does is it makes it a lot easier to automate. So I automate the cumulative delta on my crypto trades. And that's the one thing that makes it kind of difficult to automate is like, you can automate based off of the position of the delta. Is it below or above the confirmation line, like those sorts of things. But you still don't really have that momentum or that strength variable. And if you had that strength variable, you could just do so much more with it. So I think Zeiierman is going to only improve the indicator and make it better. I don't think he's going to necessarily change it completely and screw up a bunch of people. I think he understands that that would not be good. Well, we are starting to get a tick up from that lower power zone. Delta is still above the confirmation line. Confirmation line does have a positive slope, so technically this should be a long. Just keep in mind that an 80 tick stop is still kind of small if you're going with that. I did end up taking this one long. I am in at 566.50. And I am going with a 80 tick stop on this one. Yep.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
For breakfast.
For breakfast? What do you want? Don't say pancakes or French toast.
Why?
Because I'm busy trading. I can't make that right now. I can make you cereal. You want cereal?
Yeah, but I don't really want checks.
What do you want?
Or Fruity Pebbles. I don't know what I want.
All right, well, hold on a second, because I'm in a trade right now, okay? I'll come in a couple minutes. Okay. Jaywa says Pop-Tarts. I don't have any Pop-Tarts. I haven't had a Pop-Tart, I think, since I was a kid. I'm not sure if my kids have ever had Pop-Tarts. I don't think they have. Yeah, probably a good thing, right? Starting to put in a higher low here. The delta starting to turn positive. That's a good sign. We're also starting to flash a higher low on the 5. And now it's trying to sell off again. See if it could power through. Yeah, the kids have only been home on break for a few days now, and they're already super bored. My son yesterday was giving me the I'm bored complaints. He wanted to go do something fun. They still got another week or so left of their break. Okay, John, I live in Florida. I heard the number one seller when hurricanes are coming into the area. Walmart sells out of Pop-Tarts. Really? I suppose it's easy to store away, and you don't really need a toaster or anything to eat them. It's better if they're hot, but not necessary. I could see that. Raphael, same situation here with my 3 kids, huh? They're bored already. Well, this isn't looking the best here. We're starting to get another tick down. It's looking like it's going to take... Yep, it just took me out, of course. All right, so let me add that loss to the board. All right, I'm going to go make her some cereal quick. I'll be right back. Okay. Crisis averted. Our stomach is getting filled now. All right, so we put in another higher low. It just wanted to stop me out first, looks like. So I missed the re-entry there. Man, I am not having very good luck today, am I? As far as my entry setups and passing on certain things, not being here when things set up. That sucks when it's got like one last little down move in it. You're right on the direction just a little early. That's kind of what I was afraid of earlier, is that we were going to put in this significant down move and then just kind of go sideways after that in this little turbulent zone. That zone is always a little tricky. You know, looking back at this tick down from that upper power zone, that actually ended up being a pretty good trade. Let's see if an 80 tick stop would have been okay. Yeah, 80 tick stop would have been just fine. Definitely would have got 31 points out of that. All right, we just put in another higher low with a rising delta. I'm going to go long here. Just got in at 565.75. Yeah, that delta's still really weak, but you know, I'm gonna if the setup is there, I'm gonna take it. I'm not gonna keep missing these things. You know, if it's a proper setup and I lose on it, then so be it. I'm fine with that, but I hate it when it's a setup, I pass on it, ends up being a winner. And, you know, so far today, I've only taken the losers, not the winners. The winners are there, I just didn't take them. On the 5-minute, this is the first time we are actually flashing positive. We got a delta squeeze occurring on the 5. So this could be a significant move up on this one. However, that tick up on the 5 is not official. It'll be official in about 2 minutes if we can close this way. And because it looks like the 5 is just about ready to get going, I think I'm going to move my TP up even higher. Instead of just going for 31 points, I think I'm going to maybe target the pivot up here instead. Or, you know, it would probably be a better target. Let's see here. Well, we had a significant move off of this order block. So I think, I don't know if we can make it all the way up there, but if we can, I'm definitely going to take profit on that order block. Which is at 698.75 approximately. So can we rock it up there? Let's see. My guess is we probably can't go straight up there. Might find some resistance at this anchored VWAP, which is at 659. Or this pivot, which is at 641. Either way, I think this trade is going to be a winner. Going to go ahead and move to break even, just in case. Yeah, this is how you want to time it with the higher time frames if you can. With that delta squeeze on the 5 and trigger it on the 1. So, you know, and if you wanted to capture the bulk of this move, if you want to, you know, give it a little bit more room to play, a little bit more wiggle room, you can just wait for the exit signal on the 5 instead of the 1. And that way, that acts as, you know, somewhat of a filter. This is all also detailed in the playbook, by the way, where you trigger the higher time frames using the lower time frame. So that's primarily why I have those on the screen, is so I can see if we're about to trigger something on the higher time frame. And then also, if I want to ride it out longer and use it as a more of a exit strategy. So in that case, I would ignore the exits that I see on the 1. If you got to have a stomach for it though, because you are going to have, if you do that, usually you're going to have big pullbacks and stuff in there that you just have to kind of ignore. And sometimes I'm in the mood for that, and other times I just want to get my profit and walk away. So it depends on what your appetite is for that. But this is a great example of triggering the 5 with the 1. And hopefully you can see why I didn't just go for my 31 points on this one. So, and that's something that I should probably point out as well, is I'm always changing my exit strategy. I don't always stick to one. It all depends on what's going on in the charts. What's going on the higher time frames. I like to trade more dynamically like that. So if you wanted to kind of scale out here, I said this pivot's probably going to be an area of resistance. The anchored VWAP here at 659, it's probably going to be a little bit of area of resistance. And then also the ultimate target up here at this order block, or VWAP, which is up here at 715. So, you could take a quarter off here, take a quarter off there, take a quarter off at the order block, if that's the way you like to exit. I'm more of a all in, all out kind of guy, but so I'm gonna stay in this one for the time being. You can really see the delta starting to ramp up now on the 1. Delta's just starting to ramp up on the 5. Hopefully the 5 will thicken up and get back above that confirmation line. This is probably a good time to go get a refill. I'll be right back. JWAS, you're out. 21,615. 21,650. Oh, this swing high here. Okay, yeah. Well, we just put in a lower high, so you can also use that as a, if you're more of the type to scale out, that's also a good strategy. Take off 25% in that upper power zone on the first tick down, take off another 25% on the second one. Or that's also a good all-out situation right there too. The first lower high in a power zone is usually a good place to just go ahead and take it all off the table. If you're looking for easy money in the bag, which I should probably be doing that instead of trying to hit the home run. That's another thing I always go back and forth on. Do I try to really let it ride and wait for the 5-minute signal or not? Now, if I can get this one, that's a 6.65 risk-reward ratio. So you can see how the small, tiny losers I had before don't really make much of a difference. That's the thing. My win rate is usually not great, but I usually at least get one or a few of these big winners in there, and that really makes up for it. Even if I got out right now, still a 3.89 risk to reward. 77 points. That would put me back in the green. Definitely the more conservative thing to do would be to pull the plug if we put on a second lower high in that upper power zone. So I might just go ahead and pull the plug here and just wait for another long setup. All right, I'm out. Be a little bit more conservative. Still got 68.5 points on that, so back in the green. Gotta throw a winner on the board to make me feel better, right? There we have that really thin negative delta that's still rising. See that? You guys have heard me say this before, but even when it's negative, as long as it's pointed up in the air and it's rising, that's usually a heads up of where price is going to go. So we're still looking for a long here. But also, if you look at the 5 is in the red zone, so we do have to be a little cautious here for longs. The 5-minute could tick down, which could, you know, send it back down. Those delta candles are starting to gain a little bit more strength to the downside, but still rising. So we'll see what it wants to do. See if it wants to bounce on the 20. That would be more bullish if it does. We also have this breaker block here that it might wants to bounce on. Or this could just be a giant fake out, and if so, we would have a broadening formation potentially. This took out that, and then we would be looking at potentially coming back down here, which would throw everybody off. Take out this low would be the target at 21,505, with ultimately the target being down here at somewhere around 467. You know, I wouldn't doubt that they do that. Looks like we're starting to lose the 20 there. We're back down to the 50. We also lost that breaker block here, so it's starting to look more like that might be the play. Delta's rolling over negative now. And usually when it goes from one end of the broadening formation to the other, it's usually pretty quick. So that could be an elevator down scenario if we get a setup for it. Lost the 50. Keep in mind that 15-minute is still pretty bearish, so that would make sense. Delta's really rolling over now. Now we're starting to flash that tick down on the 5. Delta on the 5's negative. Looks like that would have been a pretty good short up there on those lower high tick downs from that upper power zone. But technically here, let's look at the landscape, reevaluate. We got a positive sloping delta. I'm sorry, confirmation line. So technically we should still look for longs unless we see a short setup, or until we see a short setup. So we are ticking up from that lower green zone. It's not quite in the lower power zone. But we also have a negative sloping delta now. So there's a little disagreement between the two, which means it could go either way. We also have that potential tick down on the 5, which will be official in 3 minutes. So I'm not going to take the long there. I don't think the delta agrees with it. So I would feel more comfortable if that delta was tapering down or starting to turn positive again. So maybe put in a higher low on the signal. Then maybe I'll go long. But until then, I don't know. And if I don't know, I'm just going to wait. You did take that. The entry is right here. But could easily get stopped out on this one if you did take that. Now, falling delta, it's ticking down. It's flashing a tick down on the 5. We lost the 50. We're rejecting off it again. Tempted to take this short right here. I went ahead and took that. 583. That's where I'm in. Because like I said, this could be an elevator down scenario, and it's going to happen quick if it's going to happen. All right, I got my stop at break even, totally risk off. I am going to target the yellow line down there. If we can flush it real quick. We'll see if we can flush through. But the primary target is here at 505. That is the primary target. So if you're going to scale out, that would be the first target in my mind. That'd be the first target. Second target would be here taking out this other low at 476.25, and the ultimate target would be the yellow line. So somewhere down here at like 462-ish. 467. Somewhere in that zone. You know, when you get these broadening formations, if you retrace to like 50% down through the broadening formation, it usually is going to end up down there. And we have crossed the 50% mark, so that's why I'm setting my target so low. Doesn't always go there in a straight line. Might have some little pullbacks here and there. By the way, this is another situation where we triggered this tick down on the 5. We've been bearish for the most part all across the board. So that's going to have some significance to that tick down in that upper red zone. Well, if we take out that first target, which is the primary target, that's still 78 points. See if we can get through this 15-minute order block, which I think we probably can. Confirmation line is starting to roll over now. Got a little bit of a negative slope to it. That delta still has a lot of strength to the downside. Delta's starting to taper now, though, so we'll see what it wants to do here. We did close above the 8. That gives the bulls a few points. It's better not hit my break even, or I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm gonna be disappointed. That power zone tick up down there at 1053, you know, those are the most conservative exits when you see that. If you're not looking for the big move, you just want to take what you can get, that's the exit there in the power zone. But I am looking for the bigger move here, which sometimes gets me in trouble when I do that, but ooh, JWAS caught the power zone long. Nice. JWAS and I are playing tug of war. We did touch the 21, and we are reacting off that a little bit. Let's see if that's the trigger that'll push this lower and make JWAS fall over. JWAS, you're going down. Maybe. Starting to find a little support on that 8. Can it hold? Ah, you're out already. So you got your piece. What did you get on that one? $120 ticks. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I have more fun when you guys are making money. This is kind of a interesting situation because we had the confirmation line heading up, which is really bullish. And now it's kind of flattening out somewhat near the center of the indicator. So Are we going to continue lower and take out that low? Or are we going to start ranging here? I don't know. But so far, this 15-minute order block is still holding. Yeah, the 5, it could tick up there. We could start to set up for another delta squeeze on the 5. However, you do need to have a positive slope on the delta for that, which we don't really have. Not yet. Yeah, it's trying to push up. It's back up to the 20. Delta's starting to turn positive on the 1. So if the bears are going to do it, they got to step in here. They can't let the bulls get away with this. We got to stay under that 20. And I think I'm going to use that as my line in the sand. If we close above the 20, I'm going to pull it. Back under the 8. All right, bears. Time to step it up. So my extreme target I have down here at 463. I don't know if we can get there, but That's where I currently have it set. Delta's starting to flash positive though on the 1, so the bears are going to do it. They gotta step it up. Otherwise, I'm going to end up pulling the plug. Hopefully this is a little bit of a domino effect here. If we could take out this low, trigger a bunch of stops, that might send it lower to this other low, trigger more stops, which would send it to the yellow line and hit my ultimate target. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for. Starting to see some strength come back into that 1 minute delta. What? What do you need? You need me to come here? For what? All right, I am being summoned. I'll be right back. We got a loose tooth, guys. That's the second loose tooth this week. The first one fell out already on Christmas. So the tooth fairy came. Looks like the tooth fairy is going to have to come back pretty soon. Okay, we are putting in a higher low on the signal with the lower low on price. We got some bullish divergence here. So the bulls have an opportunity to take it back. I don't know if they'll do it. Not a bad place to take profit if you're in a short. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to maybe... I'll wait. I'll wait. I was going to say I think I'm going to trail it, but no, I'm not. I think maybe the bulls just need to get some of this out of the system, and then we'll flush lower again. Just as I say, that's going to pop back up. Yeah, this is the long you were waiting for, Jay Waz. I still think we're going to take out that low. So I'm holding strong with my conviction. And if not, then we close above the 20 and I'll pull the plug and so be it. Should still be a winner in that case. Yeah, you could probably make a lot of money trading against me. There's definitely a lot of money to be made in these smaller moves, so if you got smaller targets, then sure. Might as well throw them in the bag. Got a negative sloping confirmation line. Negative sloping delta. Bears are in control still. Like I said earlier, it's, you know, when it tries to go for that other end of the Browning formation, many times it's like an elevator down. It's quick, but it doesn't have to be. There could be pullbacks along the way. Yep, the bulls are bleeding. That delta down there is pretty thin. It's still falling, but it's really thin. So again, those bears need to jump back in if they're going to take it. But it does appear that the bulls are in trouble. We've almost lost that 15-minute order block. Is it going to surprise us? Starting to get another tick up there. Hopefully we can make a quick succession of this. Take out that low, domino effect, trigger some stops, take out the other low, all the way to our target. Might not make it that far, but that's what I'm crossing my fingers for. Keep in mind, the primary target says 21,505. It's almost there. There we go. Primary target is hit. All right, I pulled it there. I was hoping for more of a domino effect there after we took out that low, but we ticked up from the lower power zone right after we took the low out. So on that tick up, I pulled the plug. Like I said, the primary target was this 21,505. I was hoping for lower, and it still might go lower, but still got 60 points out of it. So I'm not going to complain too much. Looks like it's still working at it, though. We still might make that drop. All right, starting to get a little bit of a delta squeeze set up to go long. Delta's tapering to a positive, fine little pencil point. Getting a tick up above the delta. However, we do not quite have a rising delta yet. So if you do go long there, it's an early long. Personally, I'm going to try long on the 8 just because it's a little early. All right, I did just get picked up there. At 21,515. Like I said, this isn't, it's not quite, we don't have the positive slope on the delta yet, so it's a little risky to go long here. So I'm trying to be a little bit more aggressive on this one. The early entry. Delta's still negative, but hopefully we start to taper down, turn positive, and start moving on up. You know, the fact that we did take out the primary target, that does open up the door here to go long, so it would make sense to have a bounce here. However, the 5 and the 15 are still, they're still bearish, so keep that in mind. Yep, 5-minute power zone starting to tick up on the 5. We are starting to get our delta turning back up on the 1. That's what we're looking for. There we go. There's our pop. All right, stops at break even now, so I'm totally risk off. We are getting a tick down from the upper red zone, so that is the first take profit point if you're trying to scale out. For me, I'm looking for the bigger move, so I'm staying in. I got my TP at 591 in case anybody's wondering. We did take out this other swing high over here, which you can also use as a target. Looks like we're already pulling back a little from that swing high. We're starting to tick down in that upper power zone. It's barely in the upper power zone. VWAP. Where is VWAP? Well, we got VWAP up here at 689. We have the anchored VWAP here at 638. Can we make it up there? So, big question. Yeah, it does appear that the trend is trying to change. So we we could potentially hit VWAP up there, sure. My ultimate target, if we were going to get up there, would be up here at 698. Excuse me. I don't know. Starting to lose the 50 now. I probably should have just exited on that tick down from that upper power zone, but but I didn't. I still have my stop at break even, by the way. Delta's starting to turn negative and rolling over a little. I was hoping to see the bulls have a little bit more strength than that and that move up there, but I don't know. I might end up breaking even on this one. Yep. Hit my break even. That's too bad. That went as high as almost 60 points on that I left on the table. That's all right. Sometimes that's what you got to do if you're looking for the bigger move. And you guys know me, that's what I like to do. But yeah, this power zone tick down, that is definitely the most conservative place to exit. I should have probably just pulled the plug there, but I had my sights set up on this other order block up there. We still could make it down here to this broadening formation. We have the delta going back under the confirmation line, which isn't great for the bulls. However, it did peek its head above it, which is usually a preliminary sign that we do want to start turning up. So as long as we don't take out this low, I'd say longs are still on the table here. That tick up right there in the green zone, looks like that was the long at 1140. That was right here. Kind of wish I took it. I was thinking about it, but I didn't do it. We never did take out this low down here. So I think this is still pretty bullish. However, the 15 and the 5 are still bearish, and the hourly actually. I got a limit order sitting down here on the 8. See if I can snipe along on the 8. However, we are getting a lower high tick down from the red zone. So if I'm trying to follow just cumulative delta signals alone, I should probably cancel that order. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. I'll wait for a long setup first. Got a potential bull flag breakout setup coming. Again, I'm going to see if I could snipe along on that 8. Actually, the bottom of that bull flag if I can. And the reason why is because we have that positive delta again. It's got a positive slope to it. We're above the confirmation line, so we are bullish on the 1. Might end up missing the train on this one, though. Or not. We'll see. I did just get picked up at 536.25. However, we did put in that lower high from the upper red zone, so I'm not really liking this as much anymore. Delta's starting to turn negative now. That was kind of a... It wasn't a cumulative delta setup right there. I was trying to snipe the bottom of that bull flag, but come on, bulls. We got to pop it back up. Otherwise, I'm just going to get out. This is also a little bit of a chop zone here, as long as we're stuck in between that swing high and that swing low. Not liking that negative delta. I wish there was more strength in it. It is lunchtime. So this is the time for chop. We're going to have chop. All right, let's push back up here. We're putting in that higher low on the signal. Delta's turning positive again. I don't like how we are in this chop though, so I'm going to move my stop to break even. When I say chop, I'm referring to this alternating choppy delta. It's usually the first sign to walk away. But I'm going to give it a second chance. What's up? What do you need? You need me to come over there? Okay. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody needed some chocolate milk, so that's very important. Still long here. So if you're following the cumulative delta signals exactly and didn't do what I did there, this tick up above the rising delta is you're in the green zone. That's the long, so the long would be right here. That's the bull flag breakout setup in the playbook. So you would have been in on the close of that candle there. I got a little bit better of an entry on that. My target is up here at 591. We'll see if we can hit that. Otherwise, if you want to be really conservative, you would exit on the first tick down in that upper power zone. How many likes we got on the stream? Only 9 likes. If you guys don't mind, would you mind hitting that like button? Just to help out the channel a little bit. Appreciate that. Deepu Jat. Not sure if I pronounced that right. How is the BTC buy and sell? Well, let's check out Bitcoin. We drew this little broadening formation there earlier, where it's putting in higher highs and lower lows. But it looks like Bitcoin is still dropping. Looks like we're trying to get a little bit of a bounce in here across the board. Everything's looking a little green. But from a cumulative delta perspective, we are bearish on the hourly, bearish on the 4 hour, bearish on the 8, bearish on the daily. So very very risky to go long in that area. I am 100% in cash in crypto right now. That delta is rising very steadily, which I like. Hopefully it'll take me right to my target. That little chop area looks like it has subsided. Market's going a little bit back to normal now. Still haven't got a tick down in that upper power zone. It's coming though. It's coming soon. Hopefully I can hit my target first. There we go. Just put 54 3/4 points on the board, which brings it to looks like 144.5. All right, and you know what? It is lunchtime. I'm getting hungry. I think I'm probably going to just go ahead and call it a day here at 144.5 points. Not a bad day. If you guys continue trading, good luck. And we will see you back again next week. So have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good weekend.
It's like one of those big Delta candles. I mean, who even trades those tiny candles anymore? I like big fat candles, I can't deny. When the Delta's green and riding high, when a chart spikes thick with a bullish wick, I'm glued to my screen, that's the trick. I want to bounce quick, can't let it go. Big Delta bars, let that volume show. I'm zooming out, yeah, that's my groove. Catching waves in a Delta move. Wanna trade slow? Nah, too tame. This market's got heat, I'm in the game. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got entries stacking tall, no weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big Delta's my golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're a bore. Give me fat Deltas, I want more. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. I like big fat candles, can't deny when the volume surges up so high. Skinny trades can take a seat. Big fat deltas are what I beat. Well, traders low, let me see that life is cause I'm my happy. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got victories, stacking tall. No weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big delta's my golden key. Big delta's my golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're aboard. Give me fat deltas, I want more. Like those big moves, yeah, wanna break through. You know, and hold and play, don't you fold. Big deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. Like those thick moves, yeah, wanna break through, you know. Then hold, then play, don't you fold. Big deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right.